Oh no. Everybody doing okay out there? That needs to go somewhere for now. Not a toy, Opie. Not a toy, buddy. Is everybody good? Good? Great? Grand? Wonderful? Living life? I like it. I appreciate it. I can dig it. So I told the team I'm on, but I'm not really ready for games yet. I gotta jump in that place, the fire range. I got to warm up. Alexa, play Mercules. Let's get in the zone real quick. Thanks, Opie. I appreciate all the crazy noises. So if you can hear all that ruckus in the background, that is my dog being a dick. So I do apologize for that, but it is what it is. He's just not barking or crying or scratching or jumping on me. What do we want to work on? What do we want to work on? Let's work on, first of all, let's grab this. Let's work on the Sentinel. I got this new skin for it. I'd like to use it. That's what I gotta do. I gotta keep the momentum going. So while I'm reloading or using the bolt action, it needs to be fluid motion. So like slide, jump, slide, and hit them. Slide, jump, slide, and miss them. Jump, slide, and hit them. No word from the team yet. Alright, let's change this up. Actually, let's not do that yet.
My shields.
Now that it's red, charge this bad boy up. that. Alright. I need to change characters. Let's go Pathfinder.
I have come to save
Gotta
the
activate
day.
these bots.
Maybe.
Get them shooting back at me. There he is, crying because he put his toy in back here where he can't reach it. I put a pillow back here. Keep that from happening. But Kim will move it every time. Every time. Damn. With the 25-second cooldown on that grapple, I gotta wait a long ass time for this to happen. Alright, it's back. Let's not mess this up again. Let's not mess this up again. Are you kidding me? Or are you kidding me? Let's
I couldn't leave so many
do it as
treasures
low.
behind. Don't drive out.
Right. Oh, right on the edge. Huh? Look straight down. Crouch. Switch it up. Let's switch it up to. Pull some right.
This time will be different.
Alright, so you gotta get in, get a gun, shoot these foes. Whoa, 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 bro, whoa. Oh. Okay, okay. Oh, yo.
Need to recharge my shields.
Jeez. They vicious.
Catching myself up.
Alright, I need something besides this. Alright.
Recharging my shields.
Alright, alright. Where they at? Where they at? Where they at? Where they at?
Throwing thermite grenade. Thermite grenade out.
Oh,
Throwing thermite grenade.
oh, gotta heal up, gotta heal up. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Oh jeez.
Patching myself up.
Alright, there's one up there. Yeah, the Peacekeeper's like a short range sniper. That's nice. Oh, oh, much closer than I thought. Oh. Oh. Oh no. Oh jeez. Picked up a gun and didn't have room for any ammo. Alright. Need to make room for...
Frag out. Frag out. Frag out. Start out. Thermite grenade out. Thermite grenade out.
I don't know if I got time for this.
Patching myself up.
Alright, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh. What up, man? Distracted reading chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is how I warm up before I jump into some games. I don't want to let my team down. You know what I mean? Gotta make sure that my thumbs is nice and warm. But I started that with a red shield. It's gonna be a bit difficult now. Alright. See if I can sneak down here and get some good. Oh. Alright, here we go. Quaver's not my thing, definitely something I gotta work on. And it's a piece of cake when they're sitting still like that. Oh! I need a shield. I need a shield. Damn! That dude with the L-Star or whatever. I guess it's the L-Star they use. Action Junction vibes. What's up, man? What's happening, buddy? How's your life? You play Apex as well? I guess that's why you're searching for it. Oh. Oh. Oh, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Oh, I didn't get heals. Not ideal situation. I'm actually waiting on my team to get back to me. I just messaged them on Facebook. I got the same two people I run ranked with. So I will let you know if, I mean, we already talked earlier. They know that we're playing, so. But if something happens and they don't hit me back, I'll let you know. Definitely. Oh, why am I missing that? How's that? There we go.
Throwing arc star.
And 143. I've never seen an arc star hit for that much.
Throwing arc star. Frag out. Frag out.
Hey, I wonder if they buffed the arc stars. Pretty sure they used to hit for like 70. I suck at the P2020. Alright, here we go.
Punching a tunnel.
Not what I want to do. Not what I want to do. Our junction. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Are you gonna be streaming it? If so, I'll definitely Hop in. Check you out.
Patching myself up.
Oh, there's the team. Let me put one of these guys in. Give me some sort of sight on that. There we go. Now let's have some fun with some distance. Where these punks at? Where these punks at? Sniping is not my strong suit, as you can see. Oh, you can't shoot through these? Alright. Where you going? Where y'all going? Where y'all going to? Oh. Ah, you lucky. What? I was on that mofo. Change positions. Gotta stick and move, stick and move, stick and move. I hit him in his butt. Nice. Butt shot, butt shot. Where you at? Where'd y'all go? Where'd y'all go? Oh, there he is. There he is. There they are. Both of them. All three. Whoa. What? Oh, bro, that's how you feel? That's how you feel, bro? Get out of here.
Throwing arc star. Arc star. Frag out.
Burn, mother. Oh, burn.
Need to recharge my shield.
Burning sticks, in my opinion, are hands down the best throwable in the game. People like the arc stars, like the grenades. Pros don't really use burning sticks, but with a burning stick, it'll tell you. It doesn't do like a whole lot of damage up front,
Throw my grenade out.
so they can run away from it, but it tells you their position. So he died, but if he were to burn and one is still on fire, run over here and hide there, I would still see numbers ticking up right there. So it tells you where they're at. It can cut areas off, so like you can cut off a hallway or like a little alleyway. There you go. What's happening? That purple one is a threat. I gotta take that purple one out. There we go. Ow. Good night, San Francisco. Oh. Damn. Alright, so team is getting on. So let me check out that dude. I'll look that up later. So I want to remember that. So let me do the YouTubes. Come on, Opie. Alright, so pop open the YouTubes. Let's check out my man Action Junction Vibes on the YouTubes. He's gonna be playing some Apex Legends. I wonder if he's gonna be streaming it right now. We're gonna find out live on the air. Action Junction Vibes. No, it looks like I don't know, let me see. Can I click his? Let me go to my channel. Can I click on his? Did I spell it wrong? No, I spelled it right. Maybe because I put spaces. Action Junction Vibes. Yep. It's because I put spaces and it was different. He said he was going off to play Apex. I thought he was going to be streaming it. Looks like he's not streaming it though. He's only got one video up, which is fine. Here we go. What's up, fellows?
What's up? Yeah, you're listed as offline on my thing.
What?
I don't know why.
Do you have me as blocked?
Ready to play?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't know. My friend's just been weird. Now I can see you. But before that, it went down to like one person, then it went back up to like 7. Then it went back down to 2, and then went back up to like 10, but you still weren't on there. But I saw you in offline. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ready to play? Alright, Zero's making Swedish meatballs. He'll be on a little bit again. He's in the party, but he has to cook his shit. You all warmed up?
Yeah. Yeah, I had some dude.
Oh, hold on. Do you want to buy some Apex
Yeah,
packs
let's
first?
do that. Let's
Some
well, let's. We'll do
I mean,
that.
I'm
We'll
not
do that
serious,
before we get into ranked. I don't want to waste the luck on a non-ranked game. But yeah, I had some dude hop in on the YouTube channel. Was watching me run around the firing range, and then he wanted to play, and I'm like, sorry, man, I'm waiting on my team to get on. I mean, there's 2 people that I play ranked with, so if they knew we were playing today, I mean, they should be getting on. I'm waiting for them. If something happens, I'll definitely hit you up and we can play.
Yeah. Whatever happened with that football player guy?
No, only played. I played Warzone a couple times after that with Zero, and still not super good at it. So I mean, I can still hit him up and see if he wants to play Apex, but he wanted to play Warzone, and I am terrible at it, and I think it would be not fun, and I would wind up like yelling and screaming and crying. It would just be bad luck.
You think it's harder
Yes.
in this game or what?
It's different.
Yeah.
It's definitely, and being used to this and trying to do that is definitely difficult.
Yeah, I got you.
So like everything's much slower, because it's supposed to be, it's real people. I mean, it's not like anybody with advancements. Yeah,
Legends.
not like people with robot legs.
Well, where's the fun in no robot?
Exactly.
legs?
And like when you slide, like that fucks me up every time. Running that slide, and I'm used to going like a certain distance. I feel like my guy like fell
yeah.
over when I try to do it in that game. Like it's so short. Oh shit! Somebody's up there with us.
Oh, you were
Yeah,
doing
me
the
and the
middle
teammate
shit?
got him down.
Oh shit, there's somebody in
Somebody's up
my
here,
shit.
also a teammate.
Bitch, you got smoked, fool.
That was pretty awesome. I should clip that. The guy was like down to our teammate and was like looking for. I'm coming.
There's two people in my thing. I'm fucking down. The caustic's fucked up. He's probably almost dead. Oh, I just swapped the shield. Get next to
coming.
it. Oh, he stopped. They both went to that side of the building. Oh, now he's finishing it. Yeah.
Yeah, teammates like snatching shit, so I gotta grab everything before he could. Alright, teammates getting you. Cool.
Wait, teammate's actually bringing me back. He's not even, and he didn't even loot my box.
Yeah, I mean,
What a nice fellow.
oh shit, somebody's here.
Oh shit.
She's wreathing away. On a mom watch, bitch. Oh, there's a lifeline in here also. Set me up for a trap.
The whole ass squad. I'm just trying to buy time for
Teammate
teammate.
was here.
Yeah, I got a fucking sentinel. Oh,
teammate's
sentinel's not
getting me up,
coming, or
okay.
teammate's not.
I'm like, why would he not be fighting? I guess he doesn't have heals, so he just wants to get up.
Shit. Alright, I gotta go. I can't fight people with fucking sentinel. Fuck, man. I gotta find a
Again.
gun. A real fucking
I just
gun.
didn't want to leave teammate, I mean, hanging out to dry. He came for every fight for us, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, do what you gotta do. Once I die,
Fuck,
I got an
that sucks. I had
alternator.
like a blue bag in there. Yeah.
No,
They
she didn't
shooting
make-
me. God damn, huh? Some sort of fucking health or shield or something. There you go, I got a shield. Got 24 seconds. God damn. Oh, storm's coming. I'm gonna fucking die from the storm
Teammate's
anyway.
got 12. Yeah, so just make it look like you tried to get them if you're gonna die from the storm anyway. Nice.
Shit. Heals,
Yeah, I don't think
Nope.
teammate had anything else. He never healed.
fuck, man. I'm a fucking die storm. Oh, God. I don't feel good about this. I don't know, maybe. If I can get on that balloon, I might have a shot.
Teammate's sticking around too, so that's cool. Oh shit, that was close as shit. Maybe there's like a gold shield and a med kit.
Mom, med kit. Yeah, that'd be fucking awesome.
Gold bag and a
Backpack. Oh, that doesn't really fucking help. Let me see if I can find some health in here or some shit. Perfect.
There's a respawn at the cage that's just outside, but I don't know if you can get to it in
yeah.
time
Yeah,
though.
maybe I'll just go that one to six
Yeah,
straight
because the
ahead.
wall's coming in. Oh, well now you're healed. You should be fine. I was looking at the map. I didn't realize that you had a heals.
You're gonna have to run in real
Yeah.
quick though.
Cool beans, bruh.
Cool as
Beans
beans.
of coolness.
There's not. I don't see anything good. There you go.
All these bullets are gone. Oh, there we go.
I might be hearing somebody
Alright.
behind me.
Yeah, there's Watson fences in the cage.
Yeah, that would be
I'm
them.
here. I don't know if there's a vest anywhere. No, guess not. Oh, they saw me. I thought I was being fucking sneaky.
And they're wrecking me.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe
almost
we can
dead.
just roll
So.
out. Yeah. Oh, they fucking got me. Oh. Oh no, here's somebody running up.
Shit, I couldn't find the Wraith, man. I followed her, then I followed her back through the portal. I just couldn't find her. Damn.
Yeah,
Well,
that
we
was rough.
did some decent damage, so I'm not super.
I feel like if I got a real gun and after I got brought back, I would have been able to fucking actually do something to help. That Sentinel is just not cutting it.
Yeah. Let me check my challenges real quick. 10 games is Caustic, Lifeline, or Mirage. 5 squad mates jump off pads is Octane. I need to do like 200 more damage with the Havoc. Respawn 4 more teammates. 18 more knockdowns with submachine guns. And then my dailies. 2 knockdowns with shotguns. Play 12 games. Outlive 250 opponents. I'm gonna change that one. Because I'm sure I'll do it, but it'll just take forever. Get 6 kills. I like that challenge better. I like that.
6 kills in
No,
one
just
game,
total. 6 kills.
I don't push the envelope. I shred it.
What level are you at in the battle pass, you know?
No, I do not. I'm like,
I think I'm 20 something.
yeah, I think I'm like high teens.
This is gonna be a good fight.
Broke 2 million damage.
Nice.
I guess either today or yesterday.
Nice.
Let's do market. Yep, I jumped there. Oh well, not too bad.
Oh yeah, people are everywhere. Okay, do you grab that? So you. Alright, got a 301. Can at least defend myself. Yeah! Woo woo!
Woo woo. That was banging.
Yeah, yeah.
We showed them how to get easy kills.
Yeah, we sure did. Fuck, why is it not working? Oh, I got a thing. I got a thing. Apex pack with, I think, 1 blue. Yeah, and it's a voice line.
Have you prepared? The story's got it wrong. Hair beats tortoise every time. I'll make this simple. It's all about information.
All right.
All right, let's do this. It'll be fun. If not, well, we all make bad choices. You live, you learn. As long as I can observe it die.
It's time to impress.
Introducing your champion.
In case you didn't know, you get
Yeah,
here by
so
winning. Good luck.
I went to my grandpa's today. The ladder that I had, well, we have a big, like, 32-foot ladder. I thought the shorter one would reach his roof, and it doesn't. And the 32 is way too big to put on the racks of the Jeep. It's like 16 feet or 18 feet long.
Right.
I feel most alive when
So
rapidly approaching my death.
I can't do the shit 'cause I can't get the ladder there.
What's he need done?
Bird's eye view.
Wants me to check his roof, see if he needs anything done, and also he thinks he's getting a draft in his walls or some shit in the wintertime.
So you just want you to like go up and look at the roof?
Yeah, look at it and then work on it, or if I don't want to work on it, just, you know, at least give my opinion of it. Because, you know, when you got a roofer, you're on your roof, you can't tell if they're telling you need extra shit, you know. He's had some people tell him, like, oh, you need a whole new roof,
Next ring's
when he
not
didn't. You know, they just put, like, they wanted to tear, like, the actual ceiling off the house
Oh.
and re-put everything there.
I think
Ah, shit, teammate's dead.
no teammate is. Oh, that's you. Oh, shit. Okay. You need a gun? Is that? I thought teammate like needed a gun. That's why I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit, I'll drop all this stuff for him. Oh, he left already.
Ah.
Fuck him.
Ah, yeah. Fuck him.
Here, I thought I was being super nice to teammate.
All these bins are
Alright, you
done.
want to just roll out of here then? Because they're probably all looted. You don't have a shirt. I barely have a shirt.
There's a box.
Probably teammate's box.
I'm gonna grab that box.
Oh,
real
oh,
quick.
treasure.
No, like the
Yeah.
treasure shit.
Here's teammate's box. Oh, there's a
Yeah, we
shirt
can
here.
roll out if you want.
In teammate's box. It's a white one if you want it.
Deployed.
Oh, is
Yeah,
that
if
teammate's
you want to
box
go
there?
back for it, I don't know.
Here,
On
I'm
the
running
roof.
to me.
Damn! Yep.
Just run away.
My abilities right now.
My vision is clear. Taking fire. Military full for the lab rats.
If you can just get away, I'll just try to meet up
Okay.
with you. I'm gonna slide down this hill. But at least I'm drawing away
Yeah.
from you.
Deploying the vehicle. Ring is in close proximity. 1 more minute.
Alright, I'm gonna land up here and heal real quick.
Ring's close.
Come on, say hello. Just even like you didn't charge.
Shields are recharging.
Just a second. 1 second.
Gas trap deployed. Only 30 seconds remain. The ring moves. Administering medical aid.
Alright, I'm out. Yeah, I'm
Oh
outside.
shit, you're here already.
I flew. I didn't loot any of those things. I just jumped on a balloon and flew. Because I didn't know where they were.
God, now there's a shirt here. Alright, people might
Shotgun bolt here.
be in here. This shit's all looted. Unless they ran over to fight the people at the... What the fuck's that called? The containment?
Okay.
Dying outside the ring would be pointless.
You wanna go over to containment? You're gonna
Sure.
fight
Sure,
some of them
sure.
bitches.
I'm with you.
Pop in here, nothing at all. Yep. No.
Barricade Stabilizer here. Level 1.
The rewards in that care package.
I see people.
Subject over there.
They're all over there, like on the roof.
I do not want to push them if they're on the roof. What do you want to do?
Well, it's on the far
Oh,
side
okay.
roof. So.
Another variable for the lab.
So here's an escape zone. If you get fucked up,
Where? I've had a debate.
we can run down here.
Okay.
Adding another gas.
People would be getting gassed the fuck out.
They're right on those steps across the way.
Let's go this way.
Yeah. She have to, oh, she's just a little bit up there.
One. Close. Getting shot at.
Oh man. Can we shoot through this? No. Where's my first yard?
I chased the lobe off,
Charging shields.
Reloading.
but I am fucked up.
1
So
second.
we just got pulsed.
Recharging my shields.
Killed one of them.
That kill signaled the end of that entire squad. Firing on subjects.
46 and no duty.
Oh shit! Yeah, they're on the roofs. Let's get inside
Oh
here.
god, and people up there too. Let's drop underneath. Oh no, that ain't cool. We can go underneath and my gas.
Okay, I'm
traps are
already in this
protected.
building. I gotta wait for this ultimate. Right here.
Oh man.
Oh, and there's somebody behind us too. Fuck.
Yeah.
Level 3.
Ice on my neck. It's ice on my neck. It's ice on my neck. It's ice on my neck. Same shit every morning.
Listen.
I enjoy many things, but death is what inspires.
Ah, I'm tossing again.
This place is something
Wasn't paying
else.
attention.
Let's go.
Played myself.
Introducing your champion. I don't fear anything. Can you say the same?
I'm the jump master. You wanna jump?
I definitely do, Batman.
Never forget the eyes of Pluto.
Let's do
Prepare for sudden death.
containment.
Do some research in this area. Yes.
Heard that.
Look how cool I am. I can ride my gas barrel. Oh man.
Trap set. I'm waiting.
here.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2.
Frag grenade
I
here.
will take that. There is a treasure pack here.
Syringe here.
R99.
Heavy ammo here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Got a prowler and a heavy. I got a prowler and a havoc.
Extended heavy mag here.
There you go.
Extended heavy mag here. Level 1. I need a hopper. Select fire.
Thank you.
I think we got this whole
Yeah,
place,
we're gonna
right?
go to.
Let's go this way.
Sounds good to me, shark. Shark fin.
Got a hop up here. Syringe here. Barrel stabilizer here. Level 1.
Sound like you were echoing when you were under there.
Maybe I was.
Let's explore this way.
Oh, where's Shark want to go? Shark wants to go to this house.
No, over there. I'm gonna loot this and I'll go over there. And then right here.
1 minute rings not far.
Where's that at?
Sounds over by bunker. Yeah, right there.
Target
I'm flying up to
spotted.
you.
The ring isn't very far. 45 seconds remain before closure.
That's you
Yeah.
flying, right?
There's a new kill leader. Just another insect if you ask me.
Standard stock here.
Oh, there's a purple stabilizer up here.
30 seconds. Rings close.
Oh, do you need that use sight? I don't have the sight on my prowler, but
Yeah, I have a circle I could trade you if you prefer it. No matter
yeah,
to me.
yeah, I can use a circle. Circle, same difference to me. Oh, what up?
Dudes.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2.
Optics here.
Much just got
There
done
you go,
chowing
Joe.
down.
The ring's close.
Where you at? Y'all chowed up, motherfucker.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Alright, teammates here. Alright.
In this area.
They
Where
were
they at?
fighting right down.
I see them. Right there. That's where they're shooting now.
Oh, a select fire, yes.
Independent variable added. Deploying a variable.
Enemy down. Reloading. I got you. Shields up.
Oh, no. Come on, teammate. Where you at?
Care package coming in. Only you.
Reloading. Just giving my shields a recharge. Here. Go. Picked up my teammate's banner. Reloading.
Nice.
I'm like out of heavy
We taking out
bullets.
the kill leader. Good work. Saving shields.
Yikes.
Thanks for that.
I desperately need heavy bullets. Alright,
Extended life
where's the respawn? Oh, it's up in the thing. Okay. Alright, let me grab these heavy
Yeah.
bullets. Alright, I'm going. I hit A so I can ping it. Let them know I'm going.
Recharging my shield.
Got Copy that.
Get out of there, teammate.
Was he in your box?
He's in my fucking box. Yeah. Fucking homo.
Send a message.
Taking my guns, everything. Oh my god. Sights. He's still in there. Oh, and then he's dropping some syringes on the ground so he can take more shit out of my
I'm gonna
box.
go down and punch
you,
shakes
dude.
for the win.
Catching myself up a bit.
Heads up. New kill leader.
I'm gonna switch to game chat.
That's fine. When he goes down, I'll just loot everything out, let him die, and then
I'll be
loot
right
everything
back.
out of his box.
Yo, did you go in teammate's box, Shakes? I think you did. That's some scumbag shit. Yes, I was like, did you go in teammate's box, Shakes? I think you did. That's some scumbag shit.
Contact.
Oh yeah, they're underneath that building.
Contact with hostile.
Alright, I still need to
Okay.
find some shit in these boxes and get a chance to
I got med kits for you. I got 2 med kits.
I got a blue light clip.
Med kit here.
Yeah, and he took all my big shield cells, fucking
Syringe
everything.
here.
Fucking dick. I don't need that syringe. I'm okay on that.
Hostile right here.
I can give you heavy ammo.
Fucking bitch. My
There.
stocks.
There's a stack. Don't let him get it. Okay. Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm trying to punch teammate off of the ledge.
How do they still fucking get me? Damn, whatever they had hit me for like fucking almost 100 damage.
Loba, just load it up
Need to
here.
recharge my shields.
I'm using teammate as a shield.
Recharging my shield.
Oh, teammate's like flashing his shield, like, get me up, get me up, get me up.
Oh, I'm burning myself. Shit.
One down. Oh, look at me.
Nice.
Still got the trigger. Oh, there's 2 of them out here now. They're getting them up.
Oh shit, I'm getting
Yeah,
every
he's shooting through the windows.
damn. If only I had my big shield, he didn't fucking steal them all. Fucking homo.
Yeah, I was like healing, and he's crouched next to, well, he's not crouched, he's crawling next to me, flashing his knockdown, like flash, 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 flash. And I'm just like, pop my shield cell, pop my shield cell. Like, fudge you,
Yeah.
bro.
Forget that guy. Dude.
Shakes for the win.
Yeah, if I didn't spend my whole time trying to shield up little ass shields. Oh, what a dick.
Oh, are you guys
Yeah.
out of that game?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say
Yes.
yeah or no?
Sending
we are.
you an
I'll
invite.
send you an invite.
Accept it at your leisure.
So you guys just took all
Yeah,
your
so-
shit when you got down,
Yep.
huh?
Yeah, my own teammate.
And the
Emptied my whole box.
respawn was right around the
Took all
corner.
my ammo,
It
all
wasn't
my
far
heals.
at all.
Fucking everything. Yeah, it wasn't far at
Wow, what
all.
a fucking asshole, man.
And I'm pretty sure he didn't
Did he
really
say
help
any-
in
Nah.
that fight.
Did he say anything
Yeah,
back
pretty
to you,
sure
he-
Jeff? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't say nothing. But he
What a
definitely
douche.
wanted to be picked up. Like as soon as he went down, he's like, kept like using a voice line like, "Oh, I need help. I'm down. I'm down. I need help," and like flashing his shield at me like, "Fudge you, bro. Fudge you."
Yeah.
Did y'all die at the same time, or were you able to get shit out of his
Nah, we all
box?
died at the same time.
No, he died. He didn't. Yeah.
Nah.
I wanted to.
I need 7 more games as lifeline.
Oh, I had the meatballs come, or Swedish meatballs come out.
I got this thing in the box. Or is it a bag?
That would be you, Zero.
So, what'd you say?
Got your back.
How'd the Swedish meatballs turn out?
Oh, they were good.
Yeah.
The sauce
They
makes them.
taste like IKEA.
Well, I don't know. I've never been to an IKEA, but
No,
But-
me either.
I would like to have done it with the pork, but they didn't have it. So I might try it
Yeah.
again though with the pork, pork and beef. But dude, that sauce is dope though. It's like they say get double heavy cream. I just got heavy whipping cream. I don't know what the fuck double heavy cream even is, but
Yeah. I heard a heavy
it's-
cream, not double heavy. It pretty much sounds. Pretty sure you can turn double or heavy cream into whipped cream by just whipping it.
Let's land here.
yeah, you're right.
It's a beautiful day. Let's make the most of it.
But yeah, so it's like cream, beef broth, vegetable broth, mustard, and Worcestershire sauce, and butter.
You're
Worcestershire.
jumping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Worcestershire.
I say Worcestershire. But it's spelled
Yeah,
out
that's me
crazy.
too. I can't pronounce stuff right now. But yeah, it's really good though. You like put all that together and cook it down until it thickens somewhat, and it's like it's a good savory sauce. You know, goes with the
Yeah.
balls. You gotta sauce up your balls.
Gotta sauce them up.
Oh shit, we got
Yep.
enemies.
Next ring's fast.
Anime.
Give me a gun, you bitch. That's not a gun.
There's a shirt in here if you need it.
Oh no, 2 enemies. God damn it. They're all over.
Yeah.
There's 2 guys
Oh,
around
shit. I could get
this point.
one.
There's somebody outside where I am.
Coming. Shit. I asked y'all not to die.
Just us.
Oh, he's on the roof.
My box is kind of in the doorway there, Joe. So. Good try.
That's the GameStop. Yeah, so they do this like you order and you pick it up out front of the store
Okay.
type deal. But online
Oh,
they
yeah,
have like
right.
deal of the day, which I barely go on the website, but I noticed it today, and it's a sweet ass deal. Resident Evil 4, 5, 6, and 7 pre-owned for $25. I'm
Wow.
like, yo, I'll buy that. I mean, I own 7 and I played all of them, but
Yeah, it's cheap
pretty
though.
cheap. But then they were all out. It said no longer available, even though the timer wasn't up yet.
Yeah.
I saw they also have that Sega Genesis Mini for 50 instead of 60. Just
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, like, yeah, that's dependent on like if the stores have all of those games, like.
yeah. Well, that was online,
Yeah.
so it would get shipped from, I guess, either the warehouse or stores or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so I'm gonna check these deal of the day things. Oh, 5 minutes it changes. Guess you gotta jump right on them. Oh, so I guess midnight every night. That's good to know.
oh, so you ordered online and go pick it up. That's pretty cool.
I got this thing in a box. Or is it a bag?
So Xbox One controllers are still $60,
Yeah.
I guess, right?
Well, no, you can get them at Walmart cheaper. If you get like the plain white or the plain black, you can get it. Maybe they're $50 or something.
Yeah, something like that. I had to get one recently. It was like 50 or 55 for the plain one.
Yeah.
I think it was 50.
And would I need the box, or does the 3.5
It should
millimeter
have
jack at the
3.5
bottom?
millimeter jack.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
You might
Yeah, I
want
guess
to try
I'll
one of
just
those freaking A open,
Power A.
or what's it? Is it A open? Power A. Yeah, fuck. A open makes computer cases. I can't separate the two different
This might be
names.
a good place to land. Hold on to your holograms. That's a Mirage joke.
And what's that? An
Yeah,
off-brand?
Power A, yeah, is like they're pretty good though. I have a bunch of Power A stuff like I bought.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to get an official one because I know for like other systems I had like controllers that weren't by the manufacturer and they just like weren't the same, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't know if I was competing with an enemy there or not.
Body shield.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Level 1.
L-Star here.
We're all inside the ring. Evo shield here. Level 1.
Mastiff here.
Body shield here. Level
Yeah, I
2.
got a
There's
master
hop up
ball
here.
right there.
Double tap trigger.
Yeah, I can use that.
Blue bowled over where I'm at.
Shotgun bolt here. Level 2. Ooh, someone got the party started.
Yeah, I got a Prowler. Let's see, a select fire.
You need a select fire, you said?
Yes, please. Not a lot of heavy though. Plenty of energy though. Plenty of energy. Yeah, forget this. I'm sure you guys are running heavy also. I'm done. I'm dropping this Prowler if anybody wants it. I'm
I tried a little bit.
gonna go back and grab energy gun.
Oh
real
shit.
quick.
Okay. Yeah, I hear her close up here. She's on the roof, I think.
Something like that.
No, she's right here.
Jesus, fellas.
Got her.
Enemy down.
There's another guy on the roof.
All right.
On the way, I'm on the way, I'm on the way.
No shit, my bad.
One of them's over here. Oh, she put a goddamn gas trap
Oh,
over
there's
here.
two of them up here. Yeah, this fucking rape, man.
Yeah.
I'm running to the back of the building to try to get up on the roof where I won't
Okay,
get
we're in here now.
fucked up.
Yeah, we're in here.
Oh,
We can
okay.
crawl into the... nah. Or you...
Yeah, they fucked us up. Might as well just run, dude. Do what you're gonna do.
Yeah, bring it on back. Bring it on back. Can't bust this door, you bitch.
Oh, what the fuck? How'd the door open? He's standing right there. Jesus Christ.
Two of them are down.
Gas man's going in that door.
Oh, god damn it.
How the hell did all of them get on top of the building? That's what I don't get. Heard the
No,
Lobot
just
thing.
two of them did. I killed the Lobot. But turned her into a box.
But then when I climbed up, there was two more up there. So
Yeah, that's three.
how'd they get up there without us even hearing it?
Bitch, didn't you watch the count on Sesame Street? 2 + 1 is 3. Just joking. But yeah, I
I'm not
killed the
talking about
Lobot,
how
so
many
2
people
on
there
the
are. I'm
roof.
just wondering how a couple
Two
people
on the
got on the
roof,
roof.
one
and
dead.
didn't get 'em.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Oh, well, I think they climbed up from the other fucking, like from the side I was on. Because I killed her on the other side from where y'all were at, and I think they all climbed up except her.
Mm.
Oh, are you saying you were already on the roof and then they?
That's where I got shot, on the roof. I climbed on the roof and there's two of them up there.
Oh
So
yeah,
I was
yeah. I
wondering
mean,
how'd they get up there?
up
I
on the
wasn't
other
even
side.
hearing them. I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, I might have heard him. I heard the Loba, you know, I called that out, but I don't know if I know you said you heard a Loba, and then I heard footsteps, and it was the Loba.
This is your chance.
And I guess the other two were climbing up those side stairs, you know.
Want to take me out? Come find me. I'll buy the drinks.
What the
Yeah, but
fuck,
I didn't hear him
dude?
on the roof.
And the new deal of the day is the same thing, except it's not fucking
No such
available.
thing as auto.
Let's run that back.
That's me. How about this way?
All right. Oh, we got company in the back.
I'm just trying to scare him. That fucking wingman, which I know I'm not gonna fucking hit him with. At least hopefully they're scared now.
Oh shit, Birdman over here.
Right.
The battle happens quickly. Be ready.
He's got a shotty.
Bangler over here is down.
Reloading. Bam goes the boozle.
Help run if you need. Shields are recharged.
Okay.
Another one's up here.
I'll be here 1 second. I'm on my way here.
Or was, anyway.
Yeah.
Enemy killed. I took care of it. Don't worry.
Don't worry, I got a squad mate.
There should be one
I'm taking
more.
your 20 heavy because I'm low. Alright, I need.
Oh, up there.
Come up this way. Frag out. Using the decoy escape.
I think they're in the building
I don't know
over
where
in
he
the
is.
room over here.
Catching my teeth off a bit.
Oh, all the way down.
Opening fire.
Bam!
Reloading.
Take the 2x. Alright, the respawn. Prowler in there.
Prowler SMG here.
Here I can. What guns are you using? What do you need? Your light and heavy.
99 proud.
I don't have any light bullets. I have like 100 heavy. I can share some.
I have a couple clips of light. Yeah, I could use a little bit of heavy. I have 28.
Alright, there's 46, and then I got 60. Oh, there's more heavy in here. Take a box, you take a box. Select fire.
Ooh.
Alright, let's go get our buddy back. The bins are looted.
Hell yeah.
Oh, somebody's over there. Somebody's over there.
Frag out. It's dupes overlock.
Throwing thermite grenade.
Throwing our stuff. Shot fired.
Reloading.
This is our respawn.
Spotted. Taking fire. Enemy down.
I got a bad guy.
Hell yeah.
Patching myself up a bit.
Shit, I want to drop my heal thing. Shit.
Shit.
Hmm.
I didn't say I mended broken hearts.
Yeah, I fucked up that. I didn't know how many throwables I had, so my fucking guns weren't coming out and shit. And then it was the 99, not the Trowler, and just kicked all up crazy.
Yeah, that thing kicks.
Kicks like a baby mule.
Copy of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Let me see how many more games I gotta play. Is Lifeline. I need 4 more games as Lifeline. I need knockdowns with submachine guns. Is what I need. I also need people to hop off my thing as Octane, but also knockdowns with shotguns. Alright, shotguns and SMGs for now. Shotguns and SMGs.
I got this thing in the box. Or is it the bag? You know, whatever the case, we're winning.
It's only over when it's over.
Introducing your champion.
Get ready. I'm coming for you, friend. Follow the leader.
I don't know where I'm going. Let's go here.
Could be something good there. Check this out.
Body shield here. Level 1. Body shield here.
There's a 99 in the main building.
Actually,
Treasure where I
need
marked.
something.
You probably already
Yeah, I
have it.
got that. I don't have a gun now.
Oh, yeah, here's a body.
Take these. No.
You don't have a gun?
There's a
There's a
99.
Yeah, I
scout
just
there?
picked up a scout and
Oh, and there's
I took the
99.
scout.
scout and the alternator.
Oh, there's 2 scouts. Okay.
Yeah, now we're talking. Let's do this.
I
Here's
just found a
hemlock.
flatline with some bullets. So I'm okay for now. I'll find
light
light at
bullets?
some
Oh, a
point.
bunch of them.
Light are super abundant. Or I'm sure I'll find an energy gun at some point. Exactly.
Good. Jump in now.
You want to go up further? Or across the street.
Flatline.
Whichever's good with me.
Eyes are here.
I was kind of thinking up.
But that is a
I was
shotgun.
kind of thinking up. You want to go up?
Yeah.
We can always go back down afterwards if we want or whatever.
Bam! Let's check out the booze hole search. Something like that.
My business.
Energy ammo here.
Smart ammo here.
Light ammo here.
Shooting his bird.
All that for a purple fucking dumb thing.
Shield cell here.
Did you say a purple dumb thing or a purple gun
Extended
thing?
light mag here.
Oh, dumb thing. Purple fucking dumb thing. Couldn't remember what it's called, but it's definitely a fucking dumb thing.
Yeah.
Extended light mag here. Level 1.
Actually, I have too many bullets.
So I'm gonna take this alternate accelerator and pop that.
Pop that. Pop them illegal drugs.
Barrel stable. Helmet here. Level 2. Gotta hop up here. Choke. R99 here. Syringe here.
Some lot out here. A circle sight.
I'm all lit
Energy.
up.
Over to the string. I smell victory.
Yeah, I'm good on lot too.
Kinda like whatever.
So I'm not sure the layout of everything. Oh, okay. Now we're at this place that we dropped some time.
I'm not either. They changed a pretty good bit of shit.
I'm about to have my thing. Call in my care package.
Ah, I beat you. No, go ahead.
Well, I'll take the backpack. You take the battery.
I have two.
Shield battery here.
Oh, okay.
There's one X optic.
Do you have shields, Joe?
Big dings in that.
There he goes, yeah.
Thank you.
One little shield.
I've got others. Okay. I've got a battery in like 6 cells, so I can spare some cells or.
I don't think this place has been looted.
Oh shit. Yeah, I don't see any open doors yet.
Shotgun bolt here. Level 3.
Using the decoy escape.
I thought this shit already dropped.
Bamboozles for the foolsholes. It works, it rhymes.
Standard stock here. Level 1.
You know, in a game earlier, now that I switched my crouch to right stick
Right.
instead of punch, that saved my ass. Because this girl started shooting over my head when I accidentally.
Diversion.
hit it, and I was
People are
like,
coming in.
Yeah.
Level
Oh shit, coming.
They're right on me.
Oh god,
shit.
I'm gonna throw a. We're way behind.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Opening fire.
I'm zipping to you.
Check it over
As
there.
There's a
close
race
as I
hole
can.
up there. I think she was by herself. She's
That
kind
was
of
a
ran away.
devotion. I feel like I need
All
that.
right. Is she gone? You reckon?
Yeah. Came out, I was like, bitch, get the fuck out of here.
Standard stock here. Level 1.
Shield cell here.
So there's still plenty of shit in these other buildings on the other side here. I can't get used to sliding with the right stick though. It's taking
Yeah,
a
you
little bit
will. I
of
mean, it takes a couple games to get used to it, but
practice.
Optics here. Close range. Knockdown shield here. Level 2.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2.
Shield cell here. Standard stock here. Level 2.
oh, 2x. I'm dropping a 1 to 2.
Optics here. Close range.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop a flat line here for this hemlock.
Flatline
Somebody
here.
wants it.
We got one of the damn bitches.
So if we see a stabilizer, I could use one. Now that I have a hemlock.
All right. You didn't dibs that blue stock, did you, Grim?
Nope.
I got a blue stabilizer now.
Gotta hop up here. Select fire. Heavy ammo here.
Uh,
Just in case I can find a trail.
the hop up, not the.
This
heavy
building's
ammo,
been
right?
looted.
Yeah.
The slash fire. Yeah.
Seen a bunch of blue armors this game. Enemies, I think.
What? Enemies?
Hold on, I think.
Where?
Maybe up. Maybe not. Maybe not. I thought I heard something over here, but I don't think so. I think my volume's not up high enough. No, I do hear it. I don't know where the fuck it's at though. Oh, they're over here. They're over here creeping. They're over here creeping underneath us.
Above us, you mean? Oh. What?
They're climbing up.
Oh shit.
He's over there.
I must have been Grim creeping and it didn't show me his fucking label.
Where'd they go?
How many were there? Just that one dude?
So far it's all I've seen.
Oh,
One zipped away.
they're sniping the shit out of me.
Shit. Shit, dude, they're all...
This dude's hiding behind this rock right here. You got a shot on him.
I'm gonna throw nades.
He's down.
The other one's over there.
Grenades.
Two of them over there.
Recharging shields.
Oh, grenade.
Nade. Got one. She's hurt a little bit. Yeah, bitches.
Suck on that, bruh.
And a boom boom.
L to the is.
Extended light mag, barrel stable, optics here. Close range, backpack here. Level 2.
All kinds of
Wall's
shit in
coming.
these boxes.
Zero, be careful. You gotta heal. That'll kill you.
I'm healing now.
Shit, I have no syringes at all.
Bet the care package has
Oh, I don't need them. I have medkits. I forgot. I got rid of them.
Who want what?
medkit here. I am repairing myself.
My shooters, how about the Goobers with bazookas? They don't miss. And I gotta adjust my mic, move
Good
it to
shit.
a place so I can be comfortable.
Man, those grenades made them get their ass out of Dodge.
Yeah, and right into Bullet Town. I like it.
Hell yeah.
My shooters, how about the Ubers with bazookas? They don't miss.
R301. Extended heavy mag here. Level 2. Shield cell here.
Standard stock here.
Alright, everybody's got purple bags for me.
Syringe here.
Hey. Hey, you. Snatching shit from right under me.
I didn't take nothing
Oh,
from you.
The box of heavy, I was
I'm looking
trying
in
to
these
swap
bins.
something. And then...
Oh, you were
Yeah.
trying to grab that heavy? Oh, my bad.
Oh, I
I'm
can give
good,
you a
I'm
box
good,
of heavy
I'm
too.
good.
I'll
fine,
pick
I'm
some
good.
up here. I got plenty.
I thought you were trying to pick
I
up
got-
that bag or something like that.
All right, I got like 200 rounds and only one heavy gun.
What heavy gun
You need any heavy, Grim? Him what?
I'm alright.
Oh, ready?
Oh, oh,
Oh, shit's popping.
playing our song, fellas.
Oh yeah.
45 seconds. Rings just up ahead.
Make sure nobody's coming in from the left. I don't see anybody.
30 seconds. Rings close.
Dude, where'd they go? Oh, okay. There's one. They're
I
on the
see them.
roof up on that shit. Yeah, they're on the roof of that, but there's one or two running around down low too. I've only seen two so far. Damn. They're in our fucking way of safety there. Oh, does this connect to that, Grim?
No, I just want
Oh,
to see
it's
if
just
anybody
a-
was hiding down here.
Oh,
Oh shit!
let's
So
go.
we have to go this way to get in the circle. They're gonna have to leave. The people that are up
There's
top.
also shooting like over there.
One way.
Let's explore this way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should get on the flank somewhere. Can we? Do you want to go around this rock and put everybody on one side of us?
Yeah, this would be good. Yeah. This
Can
way.
we do that? Well, yeah, that's in the circle. Yeah.
Hold on, which way we going? We're splitting up.
If we
We're
go this
splitting
way,
up.
we
Hold
just
up,
kill these
hold up, hold up.
motherfuckers.
Oh,
Oh.
I was saying go the other way because there's people behind us too, and if we go around the other side, like the long way, everybody will be on one side of us, and they'll probably run into each other. But whatever, I'm with you. I'm with you. Shit.
That shit fucked them up pretty good.
Somebody's on
Shit.
the wall.
One
somebody's on
behind
the
us.
wall.
One right there.
Shit, I'm down. They're up there. They're up there.
Shit. Shit.
Contact
Here,
hostile.
Grim, you want to get me up?
Fudge.
Oh, there.
Oh shit.
There it is. Who's
I'm a
down?
box.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got killed, Joe. Oh, why'd you die, man?
Good shit.
You wouldn't
That wasn't
get
the
me up.
plan.
I asked you. I was like, yo, Grim, you want to get me up? And you're like, I'd rather wait till you died.
Oh, well,
I heard
That-
you
that
say
difference
it.
would've
I
killed you if
heard
I
you
tried to
say
get up
I'd
like
rather
that.
wait till you died. I heard it.
you got me. You got me. I was like, nah.
Oh,
let's
there's
just
still a
let 'em die.
fucking.
It'll be
There's still a
way
revive
funnier.
spot. Somebody else is fighting. I'm gonna see if I can.
Do any throwables,
Yeah,
Brendan?
I don't know.
Joe? I could just. Yeah, you got a frag. I'll definitely take that shit.
Oh shit. Oh man,
Uh,
don't see the
where's
revive.
this,
Don't see the
spawn?
revive.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
it's
on
not
the
in the.
radar?
It's like directly in
Come
front
on,
of us.
yeah,
Yeah.
we should stick together and.
Oh goddamn, they're right here. One of the squads is right here. I'm getting the fuck out.
Alright. Is that the only one left?
No, there's two
Yep.
squads. There's three squads.
wait,
and two
I'm-
of you guys.
No, is that the
Yes.
only respawn left? I mean,
Yeah. Do you? Well, I mean, we can push them and attack them.
all three of them went over there.
Alright,
Oh,
so you might be
shit.
able to sneak in.
Oh.
I'm gonna try.
Whoa. Whoa.
I'm gonna try to sneak in and bring
Okay.
Joe back.
They just like glitched on my screen and instantly climbed the roof. Really?
It made me shoot at them. Somebody's coming, Grim.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming.
You see your decoys. They're probably gonna slaughter me. Rings moving.
Got one of them.
I'm just trying to drop some. Oh, fuck, grenades everywhere.
Oh, dude. The
I got another
battery
one.
went. Okay, there's only one alive. And there's the
Oh,
ping.
shit, we lost some.
Yeah, get to
He's
safety.
in this
Get to
door
safety.
here.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Can't make it to
I'm
safety.
still not in. I'm still not in.
Enemy taken
Shit.
out.
She's right behind you, Grim. Oh no, you're okay. She's going to be behind you in a minute. She's going to die. She's going to die in the storm, but she's coming out of the storm behind you, boys.
Nah, I'm
You got a
good.
gun and stuff, Joe?
Oh, they're up on the hill. Oh, whoa, whoa, shit.
Alright.
God.
Oh, shit.
There was only one until.
I don't know. Oh, shit. I shoot my own fucking decoy. What the fuck, man? Jeez.
I told you this, that ultimate is pretty good. So good it confuses Mirage himself.
We have our Apex champions.
When I went to get you up, they like backed up and started acting weird, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Damn, did you see his Mirage outfit is like an Iron Man suit?
Yeah,
was
I did just say
Of
it was
the winter there, it was like red and gold.
kind of cute.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean it was like metallic too, like armor.
I think it's
curious.
the thing for this season. For this. He has like a pirate's outfit or some shit.
Oh, okay.
He's got like a funny goatee.
Oh,
I
it's the
think
pirate
that's what it
outfit.
was.
This one looked like Iron Man armor, like Iron Man 1 armor, like gold and red.
Fancy schmancy probably. That's probably what it was. With white boots and shit.
No,
one?
well, no, I don't think so.
Oh wait, no. Can you see this?
No,
This one? No.
it's still showing you as green. No, let me see if I've got the skin. I don't
You
think I
can't
do.
see my skin I'm wearing right now?
Oh yeah, it ain't that. No, this is like literally metal armor,
Oh, shit. Then yeah, I don't even think I've ever
and
seen
it was red and gold like an Iron Man suit, but with no helmet. But it was like armor plate. Let me see if I bet it probably is a new one or one you have to pay for or some shit. But let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, wait, I'm confused.
It looks kinda like it does not look the same, but if you look at those epic ones, you can see like the Revenger Ghost Machine, how those are like actual metal armor. It's kinda like that, but it's not those. It's red and gold.
I don't
I'm
know,
still
Fancy
looking here.
Schmancy is red and gold and shiny.
Yeah, but it's nothing like Fancy Schmancy. If you look at the epic ones that are like metallic armor, it's more like those than anything.
Iron Man Mirage skin Apex.
Yeah, it's nothing whatsoever like Fancy Schmancy. I just saw it when I was scrolling.
Opie, cut it out. You're growling at nothing.
It was something that was in the store rotating with other legendary skin of his that you need to have first. Oh, okay.
Oh,
So that was some sort of skin that, let me see if I can see an image of it. Oh, shit. Yeah, he actually looks like fucking Iron Man.
what's it called?
I don't know. Everybody's just calling it Iron Man.
It looks pretty dope.
Yeah. So that was one where like you had to pay $18 for a skin, then you could buy the Iron Man one for 18,000 red things or whatever. We go to the bathroom.
Oh, what the fuck? Man, they're raking in the money for $9 a skin for 2 skins.
Well, no, I mean, you could also have unlocked the one skin. That's usually how it works. Like the skin that you have to pay the money for, you could also get in a care package or in a loot tick. So like you might have, yeah, you might have had that. 'Cause that happened with, I bought a couple skins. It was a Watson skin. Yeah, I bought this. Hold on, I didn't. I bought this Watson skin because there was one that was that you had to buy. If I didn't have first, I would have had to spend $18 on a skin that was similar to this, but I had it. I don't know.
So so you get, is this the one you paid the red currency for, or is this the
one I
initial
paid the
skin?
red currency for. I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
pretty neat. Kind of like a.
It was the first time I was able to do that.
It's reminding me
without
of something.
spending cash. So I did it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm trying to. Where have I seen some shit like that before? I mean, I've never seen anything exactly like that suit, but the chick with like a freaking skull cap, that reminds me of something I've seen in
Well,
a
there
movie or
is
something. I don't know.
a Watson skin that's like that, but it's orange. It's orange and black.
Your Watson looks like
Yeah.
a freak.
Oh, it kind of reminds me of RoboCop a little bit, or
Oh
the
yeah,
Borg Queen
remind me of
in
something.
in one of the Star Trek Next Generation movies. You guys want to play a little ranked? We did pretty good in that last game.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, sure.
Polish our golds.
Am I the party?
Yeah, you're the party champion. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So what games you have for the Switch, Joe? Just that, what was it? Zelda?
Yeah,
Or what was it?
Zelda's Breath of the Wild, or it's called, I guess it's Zelda. Yeah, it's Breath of the Wild on it.
And that's the only
Yeah,
one you
well,
got
that
so
and I
far?
bought Animal Crossing.
Ah, right. Do you play that with people or what? Just
Animal
by
Crossing,
yourself?
you can play, it's kind of like a simulator, so like, you build up your island and whatever.
Like
yeah.
Farmville?
And then people could like come see your island, or you can go visit other people's islands.
Yeah, it's just like Farmville. Okay. So with animals, so crops.
Yeah, I mean there are stuff you can plant and whatever, but yeah, it's like animal, whatever that's called, animal porfic. No, that's not a word. I just made that up. Where they like humanize animals, where they make like animals, they have like human traits. Animal.
Anamorphosis or something. Wasn't that a book where people turned into animals or something?
Zero.
I remember seeing the cover.
What's that?
Animals with human traits. Why is animals with human teeth the first thing that comes?
Anthropomorphic.
But when I typed in animals with human, the first search result was teeth. What?
What?
Yeah, that's like the most searched things. Animals with human teeth.
It's a hot
Like,
topic
what
these
the
days.
Oh shit.
Oh, actually, is the scout got a gun that's got different sights? 'Cause I hate the iron sights on the scout. Hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't
that's
see
pretty
anything.
shitty.
Especially if you're going for headshot, you can't see shit. They ducked and you're still shooting.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it. Alright, whatever. I think I still gotta play. Yeah, 3 more games with Lifeline, and then it's 1 battle pass level. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
What? Skull time.
Scope town, what you gonna do? Opie, stop barking at the fucking wind, please.
Not gonna lie, I'm pretty good at this.
Stop it.
I do lie, but
It was
this
mom
time-
emptying the dishwasher. Cut it out.
May our Father gift us today.
This place is something
Piece
else.
of place is something else.
your champion.
It all ends the same way. With me
Opie.
observing.
I don't need you to handle anything. Thank you, buddy. Hey. Cut it out.
This
Cut it
might
out,
be a
boy.
good
Cut it
place
out.
to
Cut it out.
land.
Cut it out. Cut it out. We don't need you. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Just so you know, Zero, you're Mirage, right?
Oh damn, sorry, bro.
Yeah,
So
no
absorbed in that skin.
problem. For a second, I thought we were in like we're playing with like a random. I was like, oh, it's still Mirage. And then I remembered that I saw your mother. Oh, dude.
Ta-da.
Ah, god damn.
Shit, coming.
I love a gun. Oh, let me get a gun.
Yeah, I'm fucking dead.
Oh fuck. Oh god, he got one in L-Star
Good thing
right
this
here.
isn't ranked.
Okay, don't worry. I'm coming to help. Target's right in front of me.
What? Are you kidding me?
Just a lovely time. Thank you.
God damn it, Zero. You have to take the fucking Mirage, man. You ruined everything.
Oh, now I see what you
I
mean
know,
with the
it's
dots.
like a
So like a burst, 3 hit me, and the last one's yellow.
Yeah.
And the last one was a headshot.
yeah.
Okay, I never noticed that.
Oh, I want this fucking skin, damn.
You running a factory skin?
Hold on just
on
one sec.
Pathfinder?
Yeah, shit was hella lame.
I mean, it's better than the antique cash register skin.
Yeah. Oh, why not pay crafting materials for this piece of shit? I'll take it for now, though. It's like a GoBot or some shit.
Oh, you
A
bought that?
generic GoBot.
Wait, did you
Yeah,
not
I
know what it looked like
didn't- yeah.
before you bought it?
I
Why'd you buy
did,
it?
but like I just, well, I don't know, it's just one of those things.
It's one
It's
of
like a
those
GoBot
things.
with a Krager Mag cod piece.
I mean, you gotta be styling.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even have chrome on my mag. It's a fucking matte finish Krager.
So I'm gonna get these bucks and go. I'm way down. I'm way down.
Three words: win and win again. Yeah.
This place is something else. Let's go.
Powered up and ready to go.
With like a waffle iron on your head.
Introducing your champion.
Check yourself or wreck yourself.
Land here. Follow the leader. That's me. Or not, whatever. I mean, as long as we win.
Let's land at the back part, I guess.
Never mind.
All right.
Forget that. How about this way?
You see anybody
I
around us?
did not, but
No, I didn't.
I ain't none but a punk bitch, so
Can't trust anything a punk
Yeah,
bitch
that's true.
says.
Round one. Beginning ring countdown.
Say one. We're all inside this ring.
Attention. First blood.
First blood. Good thing it's not us. Level 2.
I'll take that.
I need a bag. Where's all the bags at, bro?
Alternator here.
I saw a couple.
Yeah, I found a white one somewhere.
It's just a burning stick. Okay.
That's all I got.
Here's a bag.
Back here. Level 1. Barrel stabilizer here.
Come back to that bag. If I can find one, I'm already all the way over here now.
Ooh, there's a select fire here. Dropping a mastiff
Massive here.
and bullets and a white bolt.
Bag! I found a bag! Yay! Don't need that bag now.
Forget that.
Actually, yeah, I'll do that. I'm gonna drop this, scout here.
A Jamaican with the bag. What you on about, boy?
Stand
Yo,
up, stock here.
don't need to get all racist on me there, Zero.
Dibs.
It's not racist. Come on.
Stop throwing punches at the air.
It's a sacrament of the Rastafarian religion.
Keep eyes on the new kill leader.
You are so racist.
Hold on, I'm gonna shoot this bird real quick.
Ammo here.
There's like 80 light ammos in there.
It's a lot of delight.
I was hoping he would fly over my head, but it looked like he was gonna be disappearing in the clouds before that happened.
Gotta hop up here. Skull piercer. Massive here.
Syringe here. Flatline here. Helmet here. Level 2.
Barrel stabilizer here.
Use
Level
that.
1.
I could use that.
Here. Already in the next ring. Yeah, I could use that.
Dropping a
Shotgun bolt here. Extended light mag here.
Syringe here.
hemlock if you want it.
You might need a
Don't need
white
that
stock.
stabilizer anymore.
Stock here.
No, I'm
Too,
good with that.
Cancel that. Med kit here. Champion now.
Go ahead, somebody take that med kit. I've got 4 syringes and 4
Extended
shield
light
cells.
mag here.
Shield
Level 2.
battery here.
You take it. I got medkits, bro.
Delivering care package.
Actually, here I'm gonna drop.
Coming care package. I love loot.
Med kit
I'm
here.
gonna drop 2 medkits there.
Yeah, I guess I could use one of them.
Take that medkit, bro. There's two medkits I just dropped right there.
All right.
And there's 37 heavy bullets.
Heavy ammo
Syringe
here.
here.
I'm good on
You
heavy
hearing
for now.
people?
Not yet. I think that was Joe upstairs.
Light ammo here.
Let's explore this way. Syringe here.
You don't have a knockdown, Zero.
Oh, just found one. Thanks.
Thermite grenade here. Syringe here. Syringe here.
I could use a heavy clip. And like a purple bolt would be swell.
I haven't seen one.
Extended light mag.
Heavy ammo here.
Level 2.
Where's it?
Thought I saw
Yeah,
a
no,
blue
no.
bulb. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, yeah, I
don't know
picked up
where
a
it
blue
was.
bulb.
Got me something. Got to
God
hop up
damn,
here.
gone.
Select
Alright.
fire.
Yeah, drop that 'cause I don't have room for it.
We're already top 10. We just need to collect some skulls. Oh, somebody's getting brought back at
Let's
airbase.
go.
You guys want to fly
Let's
on
do
it?
this. This is
Yeah.
what we've been trained all our lives for, fellas.
Looks like it's at the
Oh, it's not
bouncy house.
airbase. Yeah, it's bouncy house.
Oh.
Damn.
We can still work our way over there.
All right.
Show them what happens when they try to revive themselves.
It's
Guess
right-
this way is probably quickest.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. Scout in here.
Blue hat.
Helmet here. Level 2.
Thought I heard enemies.
That was a lifeline care package, I think. I also got one.
Lifelines don't ever have the blue thing, the blue column, do they?
I don't know. They don't show up on the map, and that wasn't on the map. That's why I said that. I
Okay.
don't know if they have
Okay.
a blue light to enemies. They don't have one for like me, but I don't know if
Lifeline here.
enemies can see it.
Those
Oh,
boxes
we're not
are
all
probably
together.
not far behind here. Our box are like white and dumb
Somebody
and
shot at
empty.
you?
Oh, I just
Oh,
got
is that somebody
shot at.
shooting at?
That's a lifeline care package.
I don't know where that came from.
Oh, it's
So
gas
yeah, lifeline
traps
care
and shit
package
up
does
here.
have a blue light.
Yeah, they're probably over there.
All right.
Got my grenade out.
Oh, what? Since when does it go straight up in the air?
Oh, they're up top here?
Yeah, they already looted it.
Care package over here.
I just got a purple bolt. There's a blue helmet here.
Where'd they
Don't know
go?
where they went.
Helmet here. Level
Weren't you like getting shot at?
They were
Sounds like
shooting
past the
you.
skull. Oh, I see people up here. There's people on the roof right there.
And people have.
And they're shooting at somebody out in the little village.
You want to move in on these
Yeah,
people
let
out
me
of
do this.
distraction?
You want to fly on the... Okay, okay.
Let's go for it. Alright, I'm ready.
Alrighty, and then I go busy.
So grenades can go straight up in the air. I didn't know that. I feel like I've tried it before. It didn't work.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I see them.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Might be something good there. There's one right here.
They're right on the roof.
Arc star out.
Holy
Oh,
shit,
I
I
almost
got
stuck her
fucking
with a
healed.
fucking arc
Why
star.
the fuck you hit me with like fucking... I'm almost dead now.
Damn, bitch, are you kidding me?
Zero, can you crawl around to me? Over here, right here, right here.
this way.
Oh, and then somebody's coming. Wait, where are they at? They're right there, Joe. They're coming at you. Coming at you.
Sentry shield here.
Yeah, they're like all on the roof. I can get in close
they're-
there. I can try to give you cover.
Shit, yeah, she was hiding behind me. Shit. Doing the same thing I was trying to do.
I've got to look
Ah.
at this death recap. That was fucking unbelievable, dude. Oh, two people were shooting me. Still, though, what? Yeah, this bitch
Yeah,
on
somebody
the
had a
roof,
gun that was popping real loud. I don't know if it was a wingman or what, but it was fucking
Yeah,
wrecking
this
me.
girl on the roof hit me. I don't know how she did. She was just barely in my point of view, and I was aiming up at her, and she's like, pop, pop, pop. 3 hits in a row. Hits me for 141 with the wingman. 3 hits in a row. Just like super unbelievably quick as it could possibly be.
Yeah. That
It
sounds
seemed like
that
quicker
makes me
than
laugh.
she
I
could
almost
even
died.
fire. I mean, it seems like it's quicker than, like, if I was firing, it would take longer. I don't know. She's just, I guess, an expert with the goddamn wingman. It's unbelievable, though.
Yeah, that was insane.
Did she
How
do the
good
same
was
shit
that
to you?
wingman?
Like, hit you
Yeah.
time after
Yeah.
time with it? And it was,
Hit me
she was like,
fired 4 times, hit me 3 times, and I was almost dead.
yeah. And she was just like peeking, like she was just like barely, I mean, she had just barely moved into my view on the roof, and I was instantly like, you know, trying to aim at her and get her with a hemlock, and she was quicker than me to shoot me 3 times with the pistol. I mean, maybe she's just a fucking badass, but it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
That's crazy.
Kidding, nothing scares me. This is my favorite part.
Come on, we got work to do.
Alpha Beta Max.
What is
See,
that?
the Juggernaut Energy, but
Might be a good place to land.
Kim, when she saw that I was like mixing like a powder thing, she's like, "What is that? Did you like buy some of that like Alpha Beta Max shit from what the fuck's his name? The dude who does InfoWars. I mean, because he sells like a bunch of like
Oh yeah, right.
does all
Right.
this like fear mongering shit, and he like all of his stuff is like buy our vitamins. It really helps us bring the truth to you. Like I'm just here to just trying to bring
Alpha Beta
the
Max.
truth to you guys and let you know. But like if you support the channel by buying these supplements that we source, we do all that stuff so we can bring the savings to you. They're cheaper than anything you find anywhere else.
Oh shit, Zero's getting fucked up.
Yep, yep.
Alright, I'm swapping up this Mozam.
That's my nades. That's my nades. So
I'm getting up real quick.
Somebody's.
I got no
Oh,
gun.
Oh man, oh they're both fucking here.
Yeah, full squad. I got shot from up top.
Christ.
Yeah, I had no gun. I just started chunking fire grenades and they didn't do anything.
Actually, you know what it didn't do? I didn't buy some Apex packs. No wonder we're doing terrible.
Oh yeah, word. We don't do good until you spend
No
money.
wonder. Buy some wins.
Alright, so here we go. Buying 10 Apex packs. Here we go. Buying us our luck. 2 blue and a white. A banner frame and a sentinel skin. But I really like the sentinel skin I got.
You better hope you're with me.
Pack number dose. Three blues. Banner frame. I got the Mirage and this decoy upside down. Crafting materials and the dumb skin. 2 white and a blue this time. Nothing good. Here we go. This is the gold. And that is just this 1 blue
Oh,
and a white,
shit.
or 1 blue and 2 white. It's all dumb stuff. Nothing good. Banner frame and some crafting materials. Crafting materials and garbage. Gold. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. It is a banner frame for Loba.
Woohoo!
No good. Some blues. One banner frame for Watson. Here we go. This is the last pack. 2 blues and a white, and it is Mirage skin, common, rare. Crypto skin, it's kind of cool. Alright, so I didn't get anything for it, so hopefully I at least bought us luck with it. Alright, so I'm gonna be Octane. I need people to jump off my pad.
fools and be back in time for dinner. I got pork chops tonight. Yeah. Race you to the MZ.
This is your champion.
Come get some. Move it or die.
Anyone want to take me out? Come find me. Hey, maybe we land here. Or maybe we don't. I'm fine with whatever. This is the best part.
We're going to this gun, okay?
Yep. Sounds good.
That's where all the good shit is.
Yeah, all the best shit. It's like a gold shield for all of us in there, I think.
Hey, how about this way?
You missed.
Thought I heard you, buddy. You got
Charge
a
rifle.
hat.
Yeah.
Purple hat. Better than my no hat.
Got an army?
Blue hat here. Is there a shirt down there?
I haven't found a shirt yet.
Shield cell here.
There's some more, couple more shield cells downstairs.
Let's rub these on my body. Hope it heals my body up.
Spitfire, yes. Drop this dumb shit.
Gotta hop. Shotgun bolt here. Level 2. Faster here. Go faster.
Two
I'm
masters.
gonna go. Ooh, actually, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take that 301 and I'm gonna drop this Spitfire.
Spitfire here.
I'm gonna go back and get that skull piercer for this wingman.
That champion didn't really body shield here. Level 2.
It's like right here, but I don't have a bag. I can't carry it yet.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2.
I got the Spitfire.
I can't believe I haven't seen the fucking
I
bag
also
yet.
won when I first landed.
Oh, here we go. There's a
Alright,
white
where's the
one.
Spitfire?
What do you think is over here?
Thank you. Thank you.
1 minute before the ring closes. We have time. Hemlock here. Compadres. Heavy ammo here. Barrel stabilizer here. R301 here. Great. The ring is close. Less than a minute. Flatline here.
Another flat ass line.
Prowler SMG here.
Oh, you got Prowler down there, huh?
Seconds remaining. The ring is nearby.
Yeah,
Nice.
flatline too. I just changed it for 301.
Flatline here. Someone's gotta take out the new kill leader.
I need a heavy clip for my wingman.
The ring is fairly close. Hemlock here. Heavy ammo here. Light ammo here. The ring's moving, friend. Syringe here.
There's 4 syringes.
Standard stock here. Level compadres. Heavy ammo here. Yeah, I could use that.
I don't need that stock and come clean the ammo.
An empty bin.
The heavy ammo.
Check it out. Open supply bin here. Heavy ammo here.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Don't need that blue stock?
Oh, I didn't. I did not see there.
The people have been here,
No,
Joe?
that bin was
said-
empty. Oh, I hear shooting.
Yeah. See, that's the same place it was before.
Guys
Yeah,
heard those
same here.
bullets?
That's the one
Same
I.
bin, right? Yeah, and it makes me angry.
Can I get through this way?
Where's the hole? Oh, you're going to the hole. I'm just running into the wall.
Oh, a care package landing around there.
We could check out here. Oops. What do you think is over here?
Where are these people fighting at? It sounded
Yeah.
really close. These bins are up in here.
Yeah, the bins are open up here also.
Looks like there was a fight there. There's a Watson ultimate over there.
Oh, I see somebody running there. Two people.
Ah, and that's where it was then.
They see me too. I'm just. But they saw me. They were looking right at me. So. I'm not running in on them. I was just, taking pot shots.
Okay. Over here by
Yeah,
myself.
I
You
was
coming, Joe?
care package.
Okay.
Oh damn! They're Watson. Oh, killed my grenade. Oh god damn!
Oh my god, I couldn't. Whole clip of devotion couldn't hit the fucking
fuck.
Watson thing.
Oh, which one are you, you bastard? Oh my god!
Alright, Mirage is down.
Good shit. He just jumped over. Oh, hey, somebody from right here.
Motherfucker got me.
Fucking devotion loses to whatever the fuck that was.
I shot about 3 fucking... That Mirage just stood behind the rock and walked in little boxes until I shot about 3 of his fucking decoys, and then he pops out.
Strategery.
If we didn't have a Mirage on our team, I'd say that shit was OP.
It's vicious being on the business end of that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They do that, but then I feel like whenever I deploy my decoys in front of people, they always fucking know exactly which one is me and just shoot me. Maybe there's a trick. Maybe you still leave like dirt footprints or
Well, if they
dust
watch you
footprints or
do
something.
it, like if you're running towards them and deploy, they can follow. It's like the cup game. They can follow the one you were. Because I was able to do that one time doing Mirage. She was running right at me and then split into a bunch of different Mirages, but I just like watched them all come out of the back of the one that was running at me and just continued to follow that guy and
Oh,
laser
okay.
him down.
Ah, okay. So that's what it is. I can't do it in front of people.
So
That's
break
the
line
trick.
of sight and then.
I don't even have to show up.
Oh, you know what? If we could do it with some gas traps, confuse the fuck out of everybody. They'll have no idea. I was just thinking if I could do it with Bangalore and Popper Smoke, but then that blinds everybody equally. So unless we all ran with
Yeah.
like those sights on like our secondary guns or some shit. But then we'd have to like
Oh,
get
yeah.
lucky and
Yeah,
find
find
them.
them.
I guess boot factoring.
Landing in this area yields a high probability for success.
Oh no.
Oh, there's another caustic. I just heard him set a thing up.
Yeah, I hear him somewhere here. Oh yeah, he just set a gas trap right here.
There's a shirt on me.
Here he is.
Another shirt here.
Got the caustic.
Oh, nice.
Oh shit, another dude in here.
Oh, he's down the
Oh,
bottom.
he's got his, yeah.
I can't get out the door. He's down.
He's going outside.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Other
right
one's
there.
outside here.
Got your
You
kill
guys
for
here?
it at least.
She sounds like she's in there.
Yeah, she's right there. Out that door.
Yeah, she's at the other door.
Showing up this end. Nice.
Yeah.
Damn, she's so close, and you saw when I was first trying to shoot her, I'm like shooting past her in every direction.
Medkit finally. Alright.
And then is there a third oh, this is 3 boxes. Okay, because that's zeros. Okay.
Nice step back.
Rings closing and taking him out with a decoy.
Now the reason I like Bernie 6 is because they're loud, you know. It masks whatever you're doing, they can't really tell
Yeah,
you.
just all around Bernie sticks are better than.
Yeah, I think that the best.
40 seconds, 0 to get back
Yep.
to you.
That's funny. I was also just stopping the double tap.
Oh, actually, I'm yeah, oh, I got a select fire on my Havoc stream. I don't know if you got a Prowler or.
Not yet. Find one. I guess just let me know if you're getting rid of the Havoc so I can just be a placeholder.
Okay. Oh, I actually need that Havoc.
Level 1.
That thing is empty. You want to go to the next town
Yeah.
over?
Sure.
The line says this way is the next
We should conduct a search.
right way to go.
Oh, okay.
Shotgun bolt here.
Blue bolt. Oh shit! There's a blue shirt here. Oh, I forgot to loot this side because I just ran past to join the
Yeah, so you
fight.
wanna get
And there's
that?
more light ammo and shit up here too.
Yeah, I'm heavy in energy.
Alright.
Delivering care package.
I'll take that blue bolt temporarily. Oh, there's a Havoc action. I'm gonna
40
take that.
light bullets.
Light ammo here. Backpack here. Low. Gotta hop up here. Start the fire.
You need to use side scrim.
Close range.
Yeah, yeah. Here's like 67 light ammo.
Ammo here.
Shit, the wall's coming. Grab quick.
Yeah, we can zip up towards diving board.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Oh, somebody's getting brought back up on top of that hill.
Yeah.
Mm.
You want to drop off and push them, or you want to just keep going straight?
Only
no.
dropping one off. Then we'd be fighting in the storm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I also barely have any heavy bullets.
Oh, this has been looted.
Watch out for
Oh, here's Sammy.
ammo here. Extended light mag here. Level 1.
That's sweet. Alright, I got enough for some fighting.
Zero, do you need energy
With
ammo?
my flat line.
But I have it, right?
Yeah, I'll take some, thanks.
There's a
Oh, well.
stack.
Energy
Oh,
ammo
thanks.
here. Using the decoy escape.
Oh, this place doesn't look looted, I see. Oh, no, never mind, they're open.
Yeah, but they're probably gonna run through this. They got dropped off other side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's other people, yeah. Purple bolt.
Shotgun bolt here. Level 3.
Yeah, maybe an energy.
Energy ammo here. Extended heavy mag here. Shotgun
Whoa,
flatline here.
almost on us.
Not behind.
Yeah, where are these fools at? Did they take an alternate route? I'm wondering.
Taking them out with a
I don't
decoy.
know.
Grappling.
So they'll be coming to meet us soon, I'm sure.
What'd you say, Grim?
Syringe here.
Those bastards are gonna be here soon.
Okay, yeah.
Unless they run through early.
Yeah.
Prowler SMG here.
Watch it do that.
Woo-wee. You still got that thing,
Yeah.
Joe?
Gotta hop up
Yep.
here.
Psych fire?
Skull piercer. Gotta hop up here. Select fire.
I don't see them on either bridge yet.
Heavy ammo here.
They might have taken some alternate.
Yeah, they could have went
flew.
further into the mud or something. Yo, when you fly from over there, it just kind of takes you like where we are.
Range.
Okay. Yeah, they might be fucking around with heels
Drop
in
it a
there.
1 to 2 if you want it.
Optics here. Close range.
I'm good. I got
Yeah,
a 2-4.
people are fighting in the mud. Oh shit! The bombs are like literally
Oh.
right here.
I'm behind you guys. I didn't know you were moving on. I'm coming.
You want to check
Yeah,
that
there's a
house
blue
first,
shirt
just to make
right
sure they're
there,
not
I want.
behind us.
I suggest we do some research.
All right,
on
I'm gonna
this
start
area.
climbing up here because I just
I'm
don't
with
want to
you
get
now.
third party.
So I just found a gold site, so if we see like another prowler, I will take it.
What about 99?
Nah, because I got a bunch of heavy ammo. I don't have any light.
Extended
Yeah,
heavy mag
okay.
here. Level 2.
Check it out.
Oh yes. I just dropped a white stabilizer if either of you need it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I need one.
Same place where you were just looking.
Alright, yeah. Dude. Alright, we got 1 minute. I'm gonna just
Rings
zip
close.
over there.
1 more minute.
Sure, sure.
I think this place needs a little more me.
Prowler!
Nice.
45 seconds.
So there's another,
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 1.
Shit. Am I hearing
Hold
one
up.
of you guys? Oh, never mind. It was you. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't see any there. There's 2 more blue bags in here, Zero.
Barrel stabilizer here.
Blue stabilizer.
Oh shit. Okay.
So now I can use the select fire if we see it.
3x.
Mid-range.
I feel like I might have saw
The
one.
blue
Yeah,
stabilizer.
there was one
back,
I
like-
pinged back in like.
Oh, but I already had one, so yeah, I didn't pick it up.
What are you
well,
looking
you
for?
had one for me. I would have picked it up if I realized it might have won one.
Yeah, what?
Select fire. So I need select fire.
Okay.
That shit wrecks even without it though. There's energy in here.
No, I'm good. I got.
I got a lot now.
I'm
Thank you.
stocked to the gills.
Damn, it's really going down.
Let's go.
There's a little
Oh,
cut over there. Or
All right. Yeah, I'm right behind you.
ooh, fuck yeah. You say.
Oh, let me
circle.
swap this flat line out.
Shit.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
The wall's on us. We gotta. God, no.
I mean, we're
There's
basically
Damn, it is
something right out
popping.
here and to the left. They're gonna be pushing out of the storm. Yeah, they're like right
Oh, it's
out
right
here.
here. It's
Sending out my decoy.
You ready? I think they killed him.
right through
Right,
those
right there.
trees.
Oh,
Yep. Knocked one with the nade. Right there, dude. Sliding across.
nice.
Got him. Oh, one up on top.
They'll kill it.
Hit him for 66.
Send in a decoy. Wait, how do I
Ooh, I need shields. Shit.
reloading?
yeah, bitch. That's my
Oh,
D.
okay. That's the end of the squad. I'm gonna check these boxes for a select fire then.
Any heavy in those boxes?
There's 22 here, but I can
not
drop
this
some.
one.
And a flat line.
Oh, I found some. I found
Oh, there's a
77.
purple heavy mag. Is that-
Purple light.
1 minute until close. Rings nearby.
Phoenix kit in this box.
shit.
Thermite.
Select fire? No select fires.
No, I haven't seen one yet. Damn, this is fucking loot central. We
45 seconds.
Another
made
Phoenix
out
kit. I
good
already
with
got a
that
Phoenix kit. If
little
one of y'all
steal.
need it. Purple light, heals, a couple of grenades, no burnies, but I took the burnie. I saw it. It was like a dark star in a frag. You know, I feel like somebody's gonna be
Well, we
moving
can,
on us.
yeah,
We
we
got
can
20
run through
seconds.
and
We should
fly.
probably start pushing in.
We can go through,
Oh yeah, okay.
fly wherever you want to, bro.
Oh, it's popping out. Yeah, you wanna?
We got 17 seconds. I don't think we'll make it to that balloon. 12
no,
seconds
through the
now.
portal. Fly through the
Oh
portal.
shit, we're through the portal.
Oh, where is
We
that?
went,
Right in
yeah,
there?
we went in the
In the
lab.
lab.
Ah. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I run through and fly. I didn't get it.
Well, I'm just flying
Yeah,
toward
same
Grim because it's pretty much we're.
I saw a load thing to our northeast.
All right.
Northeast. That way.
Bad guy over there.
Like,
Yeah, and there's a ship popping off to the southwest too, so I don't know which one's safer.
Yeah, we should watch for these motherfuckers creeping in from the
Oh
storm
yeah,
over
from
here.
the storm. Yeah.
They're probably going to try to run up here. Yeah, I see somebody over there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Opening fire on the enemy.
oh, Wraith is on me.
Double ray?
Oh shit.
Oh, she's got a portal.
Wraith is
She's got a
down.
portal.
Mirage is almost
He's
dead.
healing up.
He's right here. Right around the corner.
Nice. Oh, they're gonna. She just got herself up.
Oh yeah.
There's Wraith right here.
Who is?
Right here. Right, I am.
Bam. Fuck. Damn, she got a whole Phoenix off.
Oh, damn.
Sending out
You
another
need
me.
shields.
Yeah, let's get looking.
Yeah.
Nice.
There it
Turned
is.
her bitch.
I'm gonna crawl behind this truck
I
here.
got everything under control. Kill leader killed? It's more like killed by the...
We got a win chance on this.
Shields are recharging. Ring is repairing. Body shield here. Level 4.
Still no select.
Oh, hell yeah.
Administering medical aid.
Gold shield, you're better off using.
Damn,
small
server's none
heals.
and all that
Wow.
other shit.
There's Phoenix Kit.
Here's another gold.
Level 4.
Oh, select fire. Yeah.
Got one.
Um,
I need throwables.
30 seconds. Ring's close.
Oh,
Ah,
shit.
is there
Come
no
on,
throwables?
syringes.
There's only 3 boxes
no.
here.
yes. There's 2 in that. So there's 10 syringes over here.
So
as
there's
well?
Oh shit, 10 seconds.
there's-
We got roll.
Or I'll take a couple of them. All right. I got gold armor, so
Yeah.
it double heals.
Shit, still 3 other squads. Damn.
Yeah, they're thinning each other out now.
Yeah, we should probably just get in. And let
Yeah,
them
I
fuck
agree.
each other up. So they're like over there. So
Door over there.
All right.
I just
I'm
wouldn't
stealth
even
moded with
peek.
you.
I would just stay in here and
Yeah, I think
don't
that's.
let them know where we are. So they fuck each other up until at least they're with a good.
Oh, I wonder.
opening.
Was there any place behind us where they can come? Just have your gun out, I guess.
I don't think so. They probably would have been killed us by now. We just went over a bridge, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they'd be dead motherfuckers. They can only be over that wall or down to the next. Oh wait, well they can be up here too, I guess.
Damn. Yeah, they're really not fucking doing anything. They're all just hiding in the building, I guess.
You want to move to high ground? Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Lots of hiding space in here. We can go in and out of these tires too, right? Can't we?
No.
Oh, I guess.
Can climb anything?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's some people shooting.
Oh, now they're popping. Now they're popping.
Oh, there's people right on that roof.
Subject spotted here.
All
Yeah.
right. Oh yeah, they're fighting guys on that roof.
Be prepared for them to like.
Ready? When we got a good shot, we should rape this dude. That's climbing up over
There's-
here. You see him?
3 other squads.
Let's just put this dude out. He's probably by
Yep,
himself.
go.
Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Oh, we got pulse too.
Shit. Yeah, let's. We can get behind this shit and keep stealth. Well, okay. Oh no, boys!
I'm getting executed. Oh, thank you.
Down here, this robot's almost dead.
No, he's getting executed.
Yeah, it's just you, Zero. It's just you.
Shit.
Oh, he's shielding up. Wow.
Oh, god damn it. Oh, what? He punched me one goddamn punch and killed me? What the fuck? That was a good game though. We got a lot of points. I got P. I'll be right back.
Yeah, a lot of points. 31. Yep.
That's it. You have any kills or
One
assists?
kill.
All aboard here to take out some fools and be back in time for dinner. Got pork chops tonight. Love pork chops.
I was created for this, I think.
Introducing your champion.
Want advice? Stay out of my way.
I'm the jump master. Duh.
Give that up.
Jump master here. Good thing my buddies and I aren't afraid
Good
of heights.
shit.
Supply ship over there.
Let's see, where's it going? Yeah, it's gonna cut away from us.
You know, I think when we're in a tight circle like that and there's 3 other squads, even though we thought that guy was solo, and it did look like he was, I think it's still best to let him fight it out. And
Oh yeah, I didn't
mean, just
mean
looking
to
back.
run in there. I just meant shoot the dude and maybe we could drop him from over there.
oh, that's all. Well, yeah, that's what I did, and then I thought. Then
Yeah,
I
I
saw
thought
shit
that-
going
I thought
down,
by
and
going
we all ran in. I think we just
right
took each other's.
I don't have any guns. Oh, there's people with guns. I gotta jump off.
don't
There's
either.
a fucking gun in here.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a gun.
Alright,
Let's jump. Let's jump.
God, I gotta fight my
Oh
way out.
shit! I jumped off the back toward the diving board.
Alright.
Yeah, I didn't get anything but an arc star.
We can check these bins here.
Next ring's far.
I was closer to the diving board. I'm just-
Yeah.
Got our first worm food, compadres. Optics here. Close range.
Oh, yeah, somebody just opened a bin by me.
Come on, give me a gun.
New kill leader.
Who's missing all the shots? I am.
Oh shit.
Dude, I can't find Jack Diddley shit.
Where they
I
at?
don't know.
Okay, there's a fucking thing. Okay,
It was a mirage, I think. He's
I'm
gone.
coming
He's
to
gone.
you guys.
We can go wherever.
Oh, I thought you died. Okay, good shit. You got a sitting on a Mozambique. Enemies better run. Long range, short range. That's all you need.
Was that your gas? Nah, it was somebody
Yep.
else. Dude.
I'm
Fuck
not
me up.
costing him one. That's
Someone's
fine.
flying in on us.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Ah, shit. It's scaring me, man.
There's a helmet in the bin close to the.
There's a
diving board.
mastiff and a bunch of bullets, and I have an extra light clip I picked up.
Dude, this is a joke. There are no guns.
And there's a havoc and shit. Yeah.
I got a hemlock with 13 bullets, so I'm just gonna drop that.
I
I
can
haven't
give you a
found
box,
any heavy
but
ammo.
I have 40.
There's an Eva in here. I've got a Mastiff and a Sentinel.
Ring is a far distance. 1 minute remains. Knockdown shield here.
Hemlock here.
Oh, you sure you don't want that?
No, yeah, I got the bullets for it.
No, I already have one.
45 seconds and it's far. I mean,
There's energy over here.
Oh, did you want
Oh.
the Hemlock Room? You didn't have it.
Didn't you
know.
go in? Didn't you search in here, Zero? There's like a blue shirt.
Yeah, there wasn't.
with a blue knockdown shield.
Oh, I didn't see the blue shirt. What the fuck? Where was that at?
Right where it's pinged on the screen.
Was it in the closet?
And here's that knockdown shield. No, it's just out in that other room.
What the fuck? I guess I was so laser focused on a gun, I didn't notice the fucking blue shirt. Oh, here's a select fire, dude.
Ooh, thank you. Anybody see an extra bag? We got a little ways to go. You wanna go to the balloon? Oh, we
Yeah,
can
I'll
do this
have a-
town where Joe
Oh, I
was.
do have a lot bag over here.
That was probably the Mirage that was on the ship that you saw.
rings closing.
He probably just ran away.
As much as the next guy. But we
Meet his
got
team
him.
wherever they went, I
Shotgun
guess.
bolt here. Level 2.
I threw down my Mastiff if anybody needs that. Okay.
Another select fire there too. Oh, here you go. Blue shirt, zero. Couple syringes.
Hell yeah! I got syringes.
Where's my 13
Let's
volts?
go, compadres.
I'll give one of you guys a shield battery.
No, I want to keep that.
Optics here.
Ooh, shit, yeah. I got a circle. You want that circle? I got a U and a circle.
No. You see that
Got
bag
the
there?
Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found one right on the bridge actually.
Oh, I'll take that scout instead of the sentinel. Hell yeah.
Hammer point.
Hammer point.
Shotgun bolt here.
Do either of you have like any spare light?
Yeah,
Even a box?
there's a stack.
Light ammo here.
Here's a. Yeah, I can give you some. There's
thanks.
another blue knockdown.
That's all I need. I got a scout, so that's enough.
Prowler
Thank you.
SMG here.
There you go. There's another box.
Oh, well, thanks.
Oh, here's 2 shield cells.
Shield cell here.
Oh, there's this.
Go ahead, Joe. I've got 4 cells. Damn. Prowler Select Fire City.
Thermite grenade here.
Take that.
Frag grenade here.
Oh, the wall's getting pretty close. We got it.
Alright.
Want to just run straight through the caves, or? I guess we can check market on the way. Oh, we're not that far.
Somebody's been here.
Gotta hop up here. Hammer point.
Barrel stabilizer here.
Well, we didn't do that good job of looting.
Barrel stabilizer here.
Nice.
Level 1. Flatline here.
You guys saw that purple stabilizer, right?
Yeah.
that's all right.
Take that.
Heavy ammo here.
Do you have a decent stabilizer on
Yeah,
side?
fine.
Shield cell here.
Alright.
Syringe here.
Oh shit! Here comes the Whizzall.
Blue helmet here from Benedict.
Got a helmet here, amigos. Level 2.
I got one. You need one, Joe. You're the only one that does need one. Oh shit.
You don't need no blue ass bitch helmet.
Blue for bitch.
So it's going down like
Check out over there.
right in there, and there's people behind that rock.
You know, I mean, the bad guys being
Alright,
realistic,
alright.
bad, but not apocalyptic bad.
Go faster. Using grapple.
Shit, there's a mirage over here.
Oh shit. Oh god damn it.
There's still people in here too.
Alright, alright.
I want to go after the people in this building. Oh, in the street by the truck.
Oh yeah, okay, okay. Popped her shield, hit her some more. She's almost dead. I've hit her, she's got about 30 health. Oh, here's another dude. Broke her shield. She's down.
There's another squad. Enemy taken down. Throwing arc star.
Got you, bitch.
I guess she went behind. 'Cause I didn't...
Oh yeah, the Birdman over here.
We took
He right here.
I didn't even work on my sweat.
Joe coming at you around the corner.
On the roof, on the roof.
Yeah,
I hear him.
Birdman down me. I did like 100
Three
damage
of
to him though.
Birdman got us. Ooh.
Oh no!
Don't forget your ult.
What?
Oh,
there was a third
goodness.
one up there?
Oh,
God
you were
damn it.
fucking them up. That was entertaining.
Ah.
That was. You fucked those dudes up though. That was pretty.
I thought they
sweet.
were gonna turn into a box after the second one. Ah.
Me too. Me too. I mean, I didn't know there was a third guy. I thought you just killed the squad. It was like, damn. That's good as fuck though. See, man, they shot like 2 of your decoys and then you started blasting.
Yeah,
and then they
that's
shot your other decoys.
And then yeah, it's kind of hard to do. But if I send the regular decoy out and then hit the down button after it's like 10 feet away, then I can control it so it looks like I'm a real person coming at him around the corner. So sometimes that works too. That's what I use on the
Does
one
that
dude,
stop you from moving like where you're standing?
It's just hard because I can't run forward because I hit down with my left thumb. So you know.
No,
But
I mean,
sometimes I don't hit down. I hit like right or left.
When you start controlling him, does it freeze your actual character, or are you
Oh.
still moving too?
No, it just makes whatever movements and directions I do. And you can do it on different angles too. I could, send it forward, turn around, and then as I'm running forward, it's running away from me, so we're running away from each other. Or you could do it on a 90-degree angle.
And you just
anything like
click
that.
your left stick?
No, the down button on the D-pad makes
Okay.
me start controlling it.
Excellent. Time to destroy more opponents. Today's a good day to cheat day.
I got this thing in the box. Or there's a bag. You know, whatever the case, we're winning.
Introducing your champion.
You ready for the Ox train?
Something
This
wrong
might be
with
a
your
good
head
place to
now,
land.
fighting.
What do I know? Oh, this is the best
I
part.
wake up at 9. I had to take that nap today, so maybe I just give myself an extra half hour.
No, that's you talking, Joe? I thought it was like somebody hitting their voice lines on the ship. See, I don't remember that one.
Well, a dude hopping
There's a
over
shirt here.
to rim, I think. Oh, I'm a dead man. I'm a dead man. Dead man dance.
Got one whole ass bitch.
I hit the caustic over here for about 64, but he's got his fast legs buddy with him. Right over in here.
Sorry, I had to kill that first legs and get my kill for it.
Ah, she fucking got me.
I still have the gun.
Dude, I fucked up.
I think
pretty
it's
good.
just-
Probably was like 40 health. Oh, you guys landed over there?
No, I landed on your side.
Well, I saw where you guys were landing, and I just went to a different building.
Yeah, I'm getting
Yeah, I
finished
just
right
got it
now.
done.
Yeah.
Do you ever, is there a better gun in here? No.
Well, these people are fighting each other. Oh, good. Oh, well, this guy's gonna kill me now. Yeah, I am dead. I'll be back.
I think I'm just gonna have
Alright. I didn't realize how late it was getting early.
about that time anyway. I've been annoyed for a couple games, so that's it for me. I will talk to y'all tomorrow, I guess.
All right, sounds good. Have a good night, dude. Hey, are you gonna be working on your clips or anything?
Maybe. I'm not going to bed, so maybe I'll make some clips. I can send some clips over. I have a bunch of clips I've made from the past.
Yeah, I would appreciate. I know you've got other shit to do. It's something I wanted to fuck around with when you feel like.
I'll send you some clips. I'll make sure. I'll definitely send you a handful of clips tonight. I don't know if there'll be any from tonight's games, but
Yeah, whatever. Just something, you know, where you got some kills and they look better strung together or whatever. I might fuck around with some effects or something. I don't know.
we'll do. I'll send you. Oh yeah, I'll send you some.
All right, cool. See you tomorrow if you get on.
Yeah,
Or, you know, a day or two, whatever.
But we'll see. All right. Adios.
All right.
You too.
All right. Have a good night, dude.
Alright, so Alexa, stop. So, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. For those Facebook, Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, whether you're here for a minute, 5, 10, or an hour, I appreciate it. It shows me that you care enough about me or what I'm doing to stop by, spend some time with me. Even though it's middle of the night on a Thursday or early Friday morning. Shout out to Action Junction Vibes on YouTube. He asked me to give him a shout out because I got one video up, but whatever. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. I will talk to y'all later. Have fun, be safe, stay hydrated. Thanks for stopping by. Also the engagement I get on social media, I appreciate that. It's Mechanic on all socials except Twitter. It's Mechanic G. And there's another Instagram that's art.mechanic. Instagram is my most active social media. Art.mechanic is drawings, illustrations. I'm working on digital stuff, painting and stuff like that. Other cool projects. That's all there. So follow me on all the